Good morning, I hope you're having an absolutely fantastic day. Right, it is Music Month again, and for those of you who don't know what that is, every month I choose 5 songs and 1 album that I feel represent a particular mood, theme, or event. It's all music that I personally like and would recommend to anyone who watches this. And the theme this month, as it's now spring, I thought would be April Revival. So a collection of my favourite music that artists have released after being dormant for a long time, sort of being off the scene, not releasing anything for ages, sort of like their comeback music. Because, you know, spring is all about new life and whatnot, so it kind of makes sense. Track number 1 on my list is called Tillicum and is by the absolutely fantastic Benjamin Francis Leftwich. I've mentioned him a few times before. The album that track is taken from, After the Rain, was actually my favourite album of 2016. I'll put a link to that video in the description in case anyone is interested in finding out what my other choices were. But yeah, Tillicum is the opening track from that album and is in fact the first single that he'd released after being gone from the music scene for like 3 or 4 years. The reason for his departure is actually very, very sad. He released a statement saying that in those years that he was gone, his dad had become very, very ill and had died, and he was effectively grieving that loss. And then he released Tillicum, and it is an absolutely beautiful, breathtaking song. I mean, the whole album is amazing, but this song just captures that really sort of traditional Benjamin Francis Leftwich sound, and he has such a recognizable voice, and the lyrics are really good and they're really interesting. He basically just does everything right. Fundamentally, you describe him as an acoustic singer-songwriter, and making music like that, it is so easy to just make boring, cliche, generic rubbish. He's like in the 5% of acoustic singer-songwriters that can actually do it well, and Tillicum is a great example of that. Next song on the list is Rooting for You by London Grammar. I actually managed to get the Record Store Day exclusive 7-inch single of that song, but I'll talk about that a little bit more in my next vinyl haul. But yeah, London Grammar, Rooting for You is an amazing song. If you watch me fairly regularly, you might remember a video I made a while back called 3 Artists I Wish Would Release New Music. Well, London Grammar were one of the artists on that list. They'd obviously seen my video and decided that they just had to release something new. The really interesting thing that I like about this song is that there are 2 versions of it. The first is the version that they published to YouTube on New Year's Eve of 2016, and as far as music videos go, it is absolutely mesmerizing. It's all live, or at least it looks like it's live. You never kind of know these days how live something actually is, but I genuinely do think that this is live, and it's one take, and the vast majority of it is a cappella. It's literally just Hannah stood there kind of in the dark singing into a microphone, and then after the first chorus, the rest of the instruments and the arrangement comes in, and it's so good. Seriously, if you haven't seen that video, just watch that video. The second version is the album version, which has basically got instrumentation running all the way through it. They're both really good, although in all honesty, I do prefer the one that's a cappella and live than the one that's on the record. I kind of just feel like it's got a more natural, really interesting tone to it. But this 7-inch has got the a cappella version on it as well as the normal one, which is effectively why I bought it. Anyway, Rooting for You, amazing song. It was really, really great to hear London Grammar come back with music that both sounded like their old stuff, but also you could hear the development in it as well. Right, track number 3 on my list is by the Canadian singer-songwriter Carly Rae Jepsen and is called Run Away With Me. I don't care what you think, this is an absolute tune. It had been like 3 years since her album Kiss came out. This was one of the singles from her new record In Motion. I think the first single from it was I Really Like You, so it maybe doesn't necessarily fit entirely into the theme, but this was like the first song that she released that I actually paid any attention to, because I honestly think it is an absolutely amazing, fantastically good pop song. It's got some really cool 80s vibes going on, which were only just becoming sort of popular again when she actually released that. It wasn't the trendy thing to do at the time. Her vocals are really good, and the saxophone synth that comes in at the very beginning of the track just melts my brain a little bit every time I hear it. It's genuinely one of the best and sexiest and warmest sounding synths I've ever heard in my life. Seriously, it's a cool song. You should check it out. It'll make you feel very, very happy. Right, track number 4 is called Over Soon, except it's not spelt with O's, it's spelt with the infinity symbol instead, because that's just deep, isn't it? And it is by the magnificent Bon Iver. It is the opening track and first single from his 2016 release 22 A Million, which was the first piece of music that he released under the moniker of Bon Iver in 5 years. The last one being his self-titled album in 2011. Now, I did a review on this album a while ago, and I'm not a massive fan of this. I actually prefer some of his older work. There are a few things that I just didn't quite get on with on this record, but that being said, Over Soon I did really like, and I love that he chose to release that as the first single because it basically has all of the classic Bon Iver elements in it, as well as the newer influences that were presented on this record. This interesting sampled voice saying it might be over soon, some layers build up, and then you get the classic Bon Iver vocal coming in. I thought it was a really good choice of single. It introduced the album really well, and yeah, it's a good song. Track number 5 is by the one and only Keaton Henson, taken from his 2016 release Kindly Now, and is called All Right. Anyone who knows me at all knows that I absolutely love Keaton Henson, and this was the first single from his more recent release, and he's very sporadic in when he releases music. Sometimes he'll release an album out of nowhere with no prior warning, other times he won't release anything for years. You never really know with him, but this was the perfect song for him to release from this album, and it's beautiful, it's heartbreaking, it's hopeful, it's sad, it's melancholy, it's everything that we all love about Keaton Henson. The music video for it is absolutely amazing. Again, it's one that I'd really recommend that you kind of sit down and actually watch. Oh, and also, if you are a big Keaton Henson fan, man. Someone asked me the other day if after he released the most recent song that he released called Epilogue, if that was like him saying goodbye and that was going to be, you know, the end of Keaton Henson. I don't think that's the case. I think it could well be that he's taking a break from music and isn't going to release anything for a while, or at least isn't planning on releasing anything new for a while. But Keaton Henson is one of those rare people in the music world who is a genuine artist, and I don't think an artist ever stops needing to create art. I'm sure that there will be some new music from Keaton Henson in the future, whether that's another classical album or more singer-songwriter stuff, I don't know, but I'd be amazed if in 10 years time he still has just not released any music. Anyway, yeah, All Right is an absolutely fantastic song. I covered it, you should totally check it out. So that's it for the individual songs, and the April Revival album of the month is So Long, See You Tomorrow by Bombay Bicycle Club. I fucking love this record. It's maybe one of my favourite records of all time. I can remember being introduced to Bombay Bicycle Club by a very good friend of mine, Matt Keithley, who showed me the music video for Luna, which is one of the singles from this album, and I had never really listened to them before. I kind of knew about them, I knew their name, and I knew a couple of their songs, but at that point in my life I wasn't into, you know, the sort of traditional indie music, but this album just sort of changed all of that. I can remember listening to it for the first time. I'd only just started collecting vinyl. I was living by myself in this flat in Gloucester, and it was a sunny day, and I can remember waiting for the postman to arrive, and after it got delivered I just went into the living room, made myself a massive cup of coffee, let this spin on the record player, sat down enjoying the sunshine, drinking coffee and chain smoking out the window. Things were happier then. Anyway, this was one of the first records that kind of really taught me the importance of sitting down and not doing anything except listening to the music. We've all put music on in the background before while we're doing something else. There's nothing wrong with that, but I do think it's important to, especially if it's the first time you're listening to something in its entirety, actually sit down and not do anything except listen to the music. And the music on this record is so diverse. I have a huge emotional connection to it. I can't even listen to the first 30 seconds of the first track on this without immediately being taken back to that morning when I listened to this for the first time. It's just an absolutely fantastic album, and it's probably the last album they'll ever release. They're basically on an indefinite hiatus at the moment. But to be honest, I don't mind if they don't ever release anything again, because I do feel like if that was the case and they never released any new music, this would be the perfect way for them to kind of stop making music under that name. I can't think of like one or two favourite tracks from this album. I just have to say that the whole album is my favourite track. But if you've never listened to them before, I would say have a listen to Carry Me, Whenever, Wherever, Luna, Come To, and So Long, See You Tomorrow. The title track from this record is absolutely fucking stunning. Also, both Lucy Rose and Ray Morris are featured on this, and that just adds to the magic of it all. So there you have it. Those are my April Revival choices. I have yet to think of a theme for next month, but I'm sure I will think of something and I will let you know then. Let me know what some of your favourite music is at the moment, what you're listening to, if there's any music that you feel fits in with this month's theme, if you like the choices this month, if you don't, if you have any opinions whatsoever, just let me know down in the comment section. I love finding new music and being introduced to new artists. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have an absolutely fantastic day, and I'll see you very soon.